Hey people, today we're going to be reading Chapter 7 of I Survived the Bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941 by Lauren Tarshis. Chapter 7. The next morning, December 7th, 1941, 8:05 a.m. Denny lay in bed listening to the morning birds sing outside his window. The Carmela was ready to leave in 2 hours. He was all ready for the trip. He'd packed a small bag, he had written a note to leave for Ma, and he had an entire plan laid out in his head. Stowing away in the Carmela would be easy. One of Earl's guys did it once when he was younger. Stowed away to Cuba to track down his old girlfriend. You had to be smart about it. Dress nice, wash up, pretend you were visiting some passengers. Then when the bell rang for all the visitors to leave, you had to find a good hiding place, like a storage closet or a lifeboat. If you could sneak in without someone seeing you, anywhere you could stay out to sight for at least a day until the ship was far out to sea. After that, if you get caught, there wasn't much the crew could do. They wouldn't toss Denny overboard. He'd already figured out a sob story. He was an orphan, trying to get back to New York City to be with his cousin Finn. He might even mention the name Earl Gaskey. People had heard of Earl, even outside of New York. Denny had heard that he was even friends with some guys in the FBI. Earl could get people to do all kinds of things for him, even like a ride across the Pacific. The trip would get trickier when the boat docked in San Francisco, but Denny would have to slip away before the police got there. He'd have to get himself in the freight train yards. Riding freight cars wasn't so easy. Denny heard bad stories about the yard bulls. The guard to search the siding of the train for the train jumpers. They'd beat you up, then toss you through the doorway of the police station. But none of this scared Denny. So what was he doing still in bed? He should have gone to Honolulu Port right after Ma left to work at 7. But he couldn't bring himself to leave. All night he'd been hearing Mrs. Sudo's voice in his head. Your mother is lucky to have a boy like you. A boy like Danny. What kind of boy was he? A boy who didn't turn his back on his best friend. But did that mean he was a boy who would leave his ma? All these weeks had been thinking about Finn doing the right thing for Finn. But now he couldn't stop thinking about his mom. What would she do when she discovered that Danny was missing? He couldn't even imagine how frantic she would be. All night he'd been tossing in bed, feeling torn in two. He was lying there, his thoughts seesawing back and forth, when a similar voice rang out. Danny, come! Danny, come! Aki was outside again. Now his plans would really be messed up. Danny climbed out of bed. He quickly dressed and went to the door. Aki was standing by himself. Aki, he said. What are you doing here? The kid wasn't wearing his crazy monkey grin. His face looked dead serious. He pointed out to the sky and in a scared, soft voice, said, Airplanes.